U of A and ASU going from one dysfunctional conference, potentially, it was a big old happy dysfunctional family, right? To another in the Big 12. That's one of the topics we're going to discuss here on Southwest Bias.
Get that stuff out of here. It's Southwest Bias.
Bo Brock, Anthony Totri, fresh off his visit to Vegas. Of course, our guy Damon Dog here on set. And this edition of Southwest Bias is brought to you by our friends over at Desert Financial Credit Union. Of course, you can check out however you like, but check out Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union named by Forbes. That's a legit publication.
Yeah, some people would say Forbes.
Absolutely.
That's decent.
I trust him. Am I trusting my eyes, my ears, what I saw from Las Vegas, where I see ASU, U of A participate in their first Big 12 Media Day? Totri, what was the vibe out there?
It was, at least being a part of those 4 schools, it really did feel like a show, right? Las Vegas is Las Vegas in the most giant way possible. And at Allegiant Stadium for Arizona State, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, at least 3 of those 4 teams. You talk about Utah, everybody thinks that Utah is the team to beat in that conference. Colorado's polarizing for their own particular reasons with Coach Prime and Shedeur.
No.
And then Arizona, Noah Fafita, T-Mac, some of the best talent in this conference. And then really Arizona State, in terms of what everybody was saying about them, similar to the last day of Pac-12 Media Day, was people were shocked, kind of just Kenny's personality, getting to talk to him, and then the players kind of mirroring that. So for those 4 schools, it was really awesome to go out there, talk to those players, those coaches. But I'll tell you what, they kind of overshadowed some of the smaller teams in the Big 12, like a West Virginia, even Texas Tech, UCF. Like, it was like, oh wait, like you guys are still here. Like,
you guys playing this season? You got uniforms and everything.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
Exactly.
That's great, guys. No, I joked at the top of this segment where saying they're going from one dysfunctional family to the other, but like the Pac-12, what was refreshing seeing with the Big 12 is like the messaging, and the leadership, and by God, there's direction.
Oh my God! When you watch PHNX Wildcats and Mike Luke's interview that he did with Brett Yormark and Saul Bookman as well, that was the exact vibe I got. Was that we now have a leader in conference that instills confidence. You know what I mean? Like somebody that when he speaks, you listen and you're like, this guy is the right guy to lead us forward, which for Arizona and Arizona State fans, it's been a long time since we felt that way. There was some hope for George Kliavkov, but he never really delivered on those promises. Larry Scott, obviously, everybody was pretty much out on. So it's cool to have a guy a leader in conference that is going to keep your teams relevant, keep you within the national spotlight when it comes to, television and streaming and all of that big stuff. Like he's not going to leave any stone uncovered.
What does it do for ASU? What kind of just having that infrastructure finally from the conference? What could it do for ASU?
I think it's huge, and I think even on a smaller scale, just like the basic idea of moving conferences and a fresh start after everything that's occurred over the last half decade for Arizona State football, Arizona State basketball, baseball, the administration, everything. It really is like, okay, we can wipe the slate clean. Obviously, the history is what it is, but now you've got kind of a new era of sports at Arizona State, and for an athletic department that was kind of behind the curve when it came to NIL and the transfer portal when it first started, now it can kind of finally lean into the personality of its coaches, a Kenny Dillingham, a Bobby Hurley, a Willie Bloomquist. So a totally fresh start for Arizona State.
Yeah. Talk about Utah coming. It's like rolling up to the pickup game and you got a baller on your squad, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we're legit. And like Utah gets their flowers the last couple of days, right? And it felt like, as you were telling me, Iowa State, as a team that's already been in the Big 12 for as long as they have, but kind of the darling, like kind of a trendy team. And then we got U of A coming off a fantastic season like they did football-wise last year. The ability to make some noise in a conference that's not in flux.
I think Arizona is like potentially maybe the most interesting team in the country this year. And I know I have a lot of bias involved there, but but I say it from a standpoint of like Brent Brennan is expected to win now. And that's not typically the spot that you find yourself in when you're a first-year head coach. Yeah. So oftentimes there's a grace period like we're seeing with Kenny right now, not a great season last year, but he did what he could with limited resources, and people are buying into that. So Brendan kind of has to hit the ground running with the talent that he has on this roster. I listened to your interview that you did with or it might have been Mike's interview with Bruce Feldman, and he mentioned that like what was it, you or Mike?
Yeah.
It was you.
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah. He said there in the interview like that he expects them to win 9 games.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a big expectation. That's a lofty expectation to go, like, say it's a disappointment if you don't go 9-3 or better. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch Arizona this year. There's the top tier talent that, you know, can be one of those best teams in the country. Something, you know, you could see a world where a playoff appearance is in the cards, but you know, there's also a world in which, you know, you're kind of scraping a bowl game at the end of the season. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of volatility there, and it'll be cool to see it play out.
Yeah, this conference is, I think, similar to the way that the Pac-12 did for the majority of its life. It's gonna eat itself alive. And I mean, when you have as deep of a conference as the Big 12 is, from top to bottom, you've got the Arizona Wildcats with Fafita and T-Mac. And Takario Davis on the defensive side of the ball. You've got Kansas State. Everyone's really excited to see Avery Johnson, Jalen Daniels, his return, and then Oklahoma State with Ollie Gordon, potentially a Heisman candidate this season. And the list goes on and on for some of those teams in the Big 12. So every single game is going to feature some really, really high-level talent.
A lot of hype.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And, you know, as much as we say we brought your friend to the pickup game that's a baller, you also brought, you know, your reality TV show group that has a ton of hype, in, you know, the CU program.
Oh, gosh.
Led by Coach Prime. I mean, I feel like it's now on par with, like, the Colorado football program is on par with the Kardashians. Like, that's more of a brand that I see from them than I see, like, legitimate college football force each and every Saturday.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned like the pickup analogy. Utah is the friend that you brought who's a baller, and Colorado is the friend that you bought who is wearing like the coolest shoes. He's got the new Kobe's on. Yep. He's got one leg sleeve.
Got a Louis bag.
Yeah, no, for sure. He came with his shoes in the Louis bag.
Absolutely.
And like he's like, hey, make sure you get a lot of pictures of me while I'm getting some shots up while we're on this run. That's literally what Colorado is, and it's, I mean, their fans are just like, they'll tell you it's not like that, but according to everybody else in the country, that's how it is. So.
Yeah, it's tough to watch. And the worst part about it is, normally with a media cycle, right, someone will say something and then a couple weeks go by and something else will happen. Mm-hmm. Even now in the age of social media, something like daily. But it feels like every couple days, Colorado finds a way to stick their foot in the mouth. And even in a 2-day span where Mike Gundy said some outlandish things, Shedeur Sanders, in my estimation, still had one of the craziest comments saying that Colorado is everybody's Super Bowl.
Right.
This team finished at the floor of the conference last year. Their last win of the season came in October to Arizona State, who was fielding 5 different quarterbacks last season, and 2 of them were skill position guys. Yeah. It's laughable and embarrassing, to be honest. Is
it truly that? Like, is there any chance that Colorado can actually be a force to be reckoned with on the field and win some games? Like, I feel like I'm playing a little bit more of a devil's advocate, because I every time I saw the clip, the Super Bowl thing, I laughed out loud. You see the college football, 25. We're all excited about it. We see Shedeur, with his ranking, his rating, and I think it's not deserved. Yeah. So is there any chance? Like, I just don't think that there's a way to narrow it from being a 4-win team to backing up all this hype.
I think Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter are 2 of the top 10 players in the Big 12. And there's an argument probably for 2 of the top 15 in the nation, especially Travis Hunter, a 2-way player as good as he is. But the rest of that roster is not very good. Like, they added transfers. They're putting a lot of pressure on their freshman big 5-star offensive lineman that they got. Mm-hmm. But like, in reality, it's the entire roster is still a giant question mark. Right. So Shedeur and Travis are, again, going to have to shoulder the load of the entirety of Colorado's season. And you saw last year, it got them 4 wins, but they started 3-0.
Right.
So, like, how much is it really going to make a difference with just two guys? I don't think this is going to be a very good team. Do they finish dead last in the conference? Probably not. But again, I think the hype is ridiculous. They're not going to sniff a Big 12 championship.
They're not
game.
sniffing the college football playoff. I'll tell you that right now. I think they can make a bowl game this year, but that's like a 7-win team. I think they're upper echelon. And I'll be honest, like about like the transfer kind of the mass. I was going to say exodus, but it's the opposite. Influx of players they brought in is like you saw it with ASU last year. That doesn't necessarily lead to winning immediately. Yeah. You can bring in 40 players if you want, but like there's something to be said about having continuity in the program, bringing in freshman talent, like high school talent that bonds together and grows within the game together. And Colorado just doesn't have that type of cohesion. And when you expect to just bring in guys and then they're just going to, like you have those two premier talents and you're going to bring in guys that are just going to fit roles all the way around them and everything's going to be seamless. Like that's just not how sports work.
And we talk about the pressure that Arizona's got this season with Brent Brennan.
It's not even close to Colorado's pressure.
And again, like if you're Dion, and honestly, I don't even know if the pressure's on Dion because we were talking a little bit beforehand. Is Dion here even after the fact? Right. Brennan's got to succeed now because he's got Noah Fafita and T-Mac.
And he's got to be able to sell the program going forward. Like, hey, I can win when I have the top tier talent.
CU, this is their last go round with Travis and Shedeur.
Sure.
So like, if I'm the AD at Colorado, like I'm honestly on the edge of my seat because those two guys are gone. Shiloh's gone, which would be the last real tie for Dion to stay at CU. So is this like a going out party? Man. Is this like
how are they going to survive?
I mean, it's just it's not a good look. I think their ceiling is 6 wins. I think they're probably a 3 or 4 win team. Yeah, and that's assuming Shedeur and Travis play the whole
3
season.
3 wins would be. I mean, like we're throwing a fiesta here at
PHNX
headquarters.
Oh yeah. I don't know if Party Cities still exist. But I would be going to one and absolutely cleaning them out and throwing an absolute
bash.
Absolute bash if they lose.
I respect both of your opinions, and maybe you can give me some insight with the college football rating. Shedeur's awareness was
98.
How does somebody that's given a 98 awareness say that they're everybody's Super Bowl when they've won 4 games? Because that awareness is like, I'm concerned that he's not going to look both ways crossing the street with that type of awareness.
Yeah, I mean, what Dion said had the same level of just like blasphemous comments coming out, but he could back it up. He was the best player in college football. He was Shedeur Sanders, right? Shedeur Sanders is not that guy. In that same comment, right, where he talks about the whole, like, where everybody's Super Bowl, he gets there, prefaces it with that he went undefeated in the SWAC. Like, dude, it's the SWAC. Like, nobody plays in that conference.
They didn't even win at all. Like, when it came to the lower division, like, they went undefeated in conference.
In the 4 wins that they had last season, TCU, not good last year. Nebraska, not good last year.
Yeah.
The Colorado State had them on the ropes till they got to overtime, and the other win was Arizona State. They finished the season, I think, on a 7-game losing streak or something ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I think that TCU game is like what we got to go back to because that kind of started the whole hype train. TCU wins that game. It was a close game too. TCU wins that game. The Colorado hype train does not even come close to what it's become because they just came off of a national championship run the year before. People expected them to be pretty good. They were ranked. Colorado goes into their house and beats them, and then everybody's like, watch out for Colorado. Welcome to the show. And then, the rest of the season, they're terrible, basically. So, I don't know. That TCU game, I always look at that, and I blame them for the Colorado hype
the butterfly effect of that TCU game. One thing we got to tell you that is a sure thing is banking with Desert Financial. Of course, is the official retail banking partner of Arizona State University. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union dedicated to creating exceptional experience and giving back to the community and providing financial solutions to make lives better. They absolutely do it on a daily basis. Desert Financial team is financial experts who are committed to their members and community, offering financial solutions tailored to helping real people achieve their financial goals and dreams. Now's the time to show your ASU team spirit. How about get that free checking account online? Get $200 plus your choice of 3 Arizona State University Visa debit cards. ASU isn't your bag. You can check out the Cardinals Visa debit card as well.
Looks a lot nicer.
Damon's going to be rocking that. Go to desertfinancial.com desertfinancial.com/ASU to get started, or /Cardinals, or just check out desertfinancial.com.
I love it. You
What's
can
not to
trust.
love?
You can trust Desert Financial. You can't trust Deion Sanders.
Can't coach Prime, but you can. I think you can trust the Big 12. One last thing, so do we think like the former members of the Pac-12 are going to go over the Big 12 and make some noise? Do you think there's going to be a good mix of the conference, or is it going to be like the incumbents are going to be there and they're going to maybe kind of flex a little bit early on? You think it's going to be a nice mix of both conferences kind of contending for title?
I think it's been interesting to see the reaction early on from Big 12 fans as to how they're welcoming specifically Utah and Arizona, because those are two of the top 4 teams in this conference. You could make an argument that they're the two top teams in this conference coming over from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. And there's a lot of them that are saying, oh, like, don't overlook TCU, don't overlook some of these other middle of the pack schools. But again, the talent that Arizona has, the brand of football that Utah has, it's hard to believe that these two teams wouldn't be at the top of this conference. And then again, Colorado, Arizona State in 2 totally different spots, middle of the pack to probably bottom tier teams. So there should be good like diversity amongst where those two teams fit. But the Big 12 got much better adding those 4 schools.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. And I think that like specifically the team that scares me in terms of like a reality check moving into conference is Kansas State, obviously.
Yeah.
Like that's a team that also plays a pretty specific brand of football, and you know they always have a pretty solid defense. Like, so that's the team I think where if Utah in particular is going to struggle consistently, I think it'll be at the hands of like a Kansas State that's kind of putting it on them. But I think Utah will.
It kind of feels like Spider-Man meme-ish.
They do.
They do feel very eerily similar, don't they?
Yeah.
I think Utah will definitely compete at the top, though. Like, I expect Utah to be the premier football team in this conference, I think, going into it. And then I think Arizona, Colorado, and ASU all have opportunities over the next few years to kind of solidify themselves in that next group.
Yeah.
Arizona, obviously, with the talent they have right now, you expect a lot. But, I think it's bound to level out a little bit. So, and then Kenny, I think will level out the program as well. So I think you'll see the rest of those schools kind of competing in that middle range for as we go on. But I wanted to bring up these odds here because they move, there's a little bit of movement on them. U of A used to be like kind of 4th or 5th, somewhere in that range in the Big 12. We got Utah plus 310 leading the way to win the conference championship game. Then you have Kansas State plus 380, Oklahoma State 3rd, Kansas, Iowa State, UCF, Texas Tech, and then Arizona.
Wow,
Arizona moved down below Texas Tech for plus 1,500 to win the conference championship game. Now, what is that? 7th in odds to out of all schools, 8th actually to win it. So dropping down a little bit in those odds there. Might get in on that juice.
Maybe some good value, but to outright win the conference.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you have the outright talent too. And you have the quarterback too, and that's
real
the
quick,
main position.
Real quick,
right?
I want to hear this from Damon. You're just off the top of your head, top 5 quarterbacks in the Big 12.
Top 5 QBs in the Big 12. Man, that's tough because I think there's a lot of guys that are all kind of in the same realm. But I'll go Jalen Daniels 1. I'll go Fafita 2, and then I'm gonna go Cam Rising 3, Shedeur 4, and then 5. I'll probably toss in. I know Bowman's been at Oklahoma State for a while and at Texas
years.
Tech. Like he's got a ton of experience. I'm trying to think of other guys. Avery Johnson's supposed to be really good at Kansas State, and I think he probably gets into that realm. I think Graham Green, the
West Virginia
quarterback. I'll probably go him 5 to round it out there. He's supposed to be pretty solid.
Got any issues with those?
I mean, Rocco Becht, the Iowa State quarterback, I think is a top 5 quarterback in this conference. Again, if Jalen Daniels can stay on the field, I'm cool with it. Don't sleep on. I know Baylor's not supposed to be good as a team, but DeQuan Finn is such a talented quarterback. Transfer from Toledo. Watched him when Toledo played Notre Dame. He is a really, really good athlete. Interested to see how he kind of fits in with Baylor. Could be a sneaky good quarterback at Baylor.
From the Maction to the Big 12. I like it. Or to Baylor. Well, if you like this, of course, you got to subscribe to PHNX Sports on YouTube. Make sure you're watching PHNX Sun Devils on a daily basis at 1:30. And, of course, PHNX Wildcats with Mike Luke, Saul Bookman, and, of course, your favorite U of A alum, Damon, will chime in every once in a while. We keep him as our resident Wildcat expert on PHNX Cardinals, which you can check out on a daily basis at 4:30. Subscribe where you find podcasts. Have a great rest of your day. Who do you think are the best quarterbacks in the Big 12? Drop it in the comments after you leave a like on this video.
Get that stuff out of here. It's Southwest Bias.